In this tutorial, we're going to show you how to join granny squares. There's two ways of joining granny squares. One is by crocheting them together. The second is by sewing them together. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to sew your granny squares together to give it that crochet together like effect. So we're going to sew the crochet squares together here, move along the cluster and sew them together again here. So when we pull them apart, we have that same crochet effect and they are just joined in the natural space. This is a work in progress where I've crocheted most of my squares together, and you can see where I'm pulling the squares apart, you can see the crochet stitch that joins the two squares together. This method does leave a little gap between the two crochet squares, and it's joined by that one stitch, as you can see now where I've just pointed to. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to sew your granny squares together so you get the same effect. So really we're going to sew the two squares together at the point where we would have crocheted them together. Okay, so I'm now just going to move my needle and yarn nicely through the stitches, as you can see as I'm doing now, because I need to get to the right space, and the space is that space in between your 3 treble crochets. Once I've reached that space, as you can see I've done that now, I'm then going to join it to the other granny square. So I'm just pulling that through, joining the two same parts of the granny squares together, and I'm just going to go through that stitch one more time to secure it. And now I'm going to move down across the other side, so again weaving in and out of my 3 treble crochet stitches until I get to that same natural space again. Just keep threading through and sewing those 2 spaces together until you get to the corner. So just keep going, and you can see that when you pull your squares apart, it's got the same effect as if you had to crochet them together. Now you're just going to sew the 2 corner bits together, so you're following the same principle, just weaving in and out on one side and then joining the 2 corner bits together. So I like to just go through them both like that and then just join them through the chain stitches and give that a good pull tight. And now you've done one whole side, and when you pull them apart, the effect is identical to them being crocheted together. Obviously you'd be using white yarn to match the treble crochet stitches. I've used green just so that you can see what I'm doing. I just want to show you what it's going to look like if we use white yarn. So it's the same colour yarn as both the last rounds of our granny squares. So I'm all ready to go, so I'm just going to sew through my first space. I'm just going through part of the V of that stitch and then onto the other side, pull that needle through, and I'd just like to go through it one more time just to strengthen the join. And I'm just going to carry on weaving in through the same side of the treble crochet clusters. And now we're back to the same join, so I'm just going to join those 2 spaces together, putting the needle through one side of the stitch and then going into the other end and through the left hand side again, just for added security and pull them tight.